Good evening, ladies, and welcome to our next mentor call for the Rise Up program. Today we have Jen Yocum with us, and she is a acupuncturist. She's going to tell us all about the healing power of acupuncture. So Jen, go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get started.
Sure. So I actually graduated with a master's in acupuncture back in 2010, and I've been practicing since then. I recently completed a doctorate in acupuncture about a month ago, so that's a new accomplishment. So yes, I'm technically a doctor now. And prior to that, I was actually a behavioral neuroscientist, so I have a science background that I like to bring to what I have here and what I do with my patients. And I do too much, to be honest. I'm also a Reiki master. I'm a yoga teacher. I do feng shui. I do all sorts of things. But, my main focus is my acupuncture practice and also working with patients doing Chinese medicine, nutrition. So I have a cleanse called the Chinese Medicine Cleanse. That is a 21-day program that's online where I work with people remotely and help give them diet and lifestyle tips to help really bring them to a state of balance for body, mind, and spirit.
I actually really like the sounds of that Chinese medicine cleanse. I'll have to get to know more about that.
Definitely. All right. So, I'm happy to just go into it unless you guys have any particular questions for me right off the bat.
Go ahead. But I might ask that question later. For you to dive into that a little bit. Okay,
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'm happy to. So I just wanted to go a little bit over what acupuncture is and answer some of those basic questions that people have when they talk to me. And I know you guys were saying, oh, I'm thinking about acupuncture, but I don't know anything about it. What is it? How do I know it's right for me? So acupuncture is a system of medicine that is at least 2,000 years old. Some people say up to 5,000 years old. It's Chinese in its basis, although over the years they've been having some various other influences, like Korean style acupuncture, Japanese style acupuncture, and it works on this idea that there are energy pathways in the body that we call meridians. And there are 12 main pathways and a couple other pathways and all these extra pathways. And they just run throughout the body. And there's about 365 points on the body that they run through. And when this energy gets kind of blocked up, you can think of it like a river, and there's a beaver dam. And these beavers have gone and they've built up this dam, and the energy isn't flowing well. The water's not flowing. So down the arms, let's say that you fracture your elbow, right? So fracture your elbow, a dam would kind of be built there. So there's a blockage in the energy, and the needles go into the skin and underneath the skin, and then that helps to release that energy so that it flows a little bit better. That's kind of a very basic overview. Now, the needles themselves are really tiny, so I'm going to try to do this so that you can see. It's probably like so tiny you can't even see. Like the handle you can see in my finger, but it's only like 1 or 2 hair widths. It's very, very tiny.
Oh my gosh. It's super flexible too.
Yeah, so it's really flexible. Like, yeah, I can just sit there and bend it. And I mean, I'm not going to like stab myself or whatever, but it's very small. So again, like 1 or 2 hair widths.
Whoa.
And they go into the skin. Again, very easy, mostly not painful. Sometimes there are certain points that are a little pinchy for a second, but a lot of times people don't even feel them. So acupuncturists put needles into various parts of the body to help improve that energy flow that we were talking about. And ultimately, it's about bringing you to a state of balance, body, mind, and spirit. So it's a very holistic medicine. I'm not interested in just treating your elbow pain in that example. So I want to work on you to help that elbow pain. But if you're really frustrated about your spouse, or you're unhappy in your job, and you have anxiety or you have depression, those are things that acupuncture can help with just as easily as some sort of pain. A lot of people think about acupuncture for pain only, but that's not the case. And actually, most of my patients come to me because they have some sort of anxiety or depression, or some sort of other pain point. They feel lost in their lives, and acupuncture can help unblock all of that, because any kind of issue that you're having represents a block or an issue with that energy flow. And so again, like, we just go in and bust up those beaver dams, if you will, with the acupuncture needles. I don't know if that makes sense, hopefully.
It does make sense. It's a good visual.
Yeah, I know. It's one that I came up with years ago, and I'm like, yes, that's like a good example. Because anything can block it up. Your thoughts can block up the energy. A physical injury can block the energy. Your diminished spirit, you've lost your purpose in life, or you have come to some issues in your spirituality, or feel disillusioned with organized religion or what have you, or you don't feel like you're connected to a community anymore, you don't have any friends. Those things can affect you just as much as a physical injury. So besides just acupuncture itself, which again is a great system of medicine, there are different styles of acupuncture. So people may not know that. So it's not the same if you go to a 5-element acupuncturist as it is if you go to a TCM acupuncturist. So 5-element is a style that was developed in France and England. After masters went to study in China, they brought it back to those places and then trained some people. And it really focuses on a classical version of Chinese medicine, so a very ancient version of it. And it also brings in some of the philosophy and Taoist ideas. Whereas TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, even though it has that name, is actually very new. And it was developed in the 1960s, and it was basically a parsed down version of the most effective acupuncture points to treat certain conditions. And they say, okay, well, I want prescriptions for every kind of condition, and let's go ahead and do these points for this and these points for that. And it was very, again, prescriptive and focused on the elimination of symptoms, whereas 5-element tends to be more focused on the root of the issue. So we treat at the root and then feel that the rest of it will kind of naturally heal itself. Now, that's not to say that people who practice TCM don't also treat at the root. That can be, a lot of people treat in a very, hybrid kind of way. And, people who are 5-element, some of them may also focus on symptoms a little bit more than others. But as far as how people were classically trained, that's the general divergence there. And then beyond that, there's also the idea of how the treatments go down. So there are full body treatments, which are what you're probably thinking about when you think about acupuncture. So you go in, you see an acupuncturist, you talk to them about your issues, you lay down on a massage table, and they choose points wherever they feel compelled to choose points, right? So anywhere top of the head all the way down to the feet is fair game. There's also a style called community acupuncture, and in that you're in a group usually, and you're sitting in chairs, and they are really looking at the points that are easy to access. So your face, your arms, your legs, those things that they can get to while you're sitting in a chair. You're not usually going to have some of the back points, for example, or points that maybe you're on the side of the body or something else that's going to be a little bit more challenging, where you'd have to pull up close because you're in a group, so it's fully clothed. And each of those has their benefit and their drawbacks. And full body allows you to, again, have access to all of the points. So you really have free reign to get to the points that would be the most effective for treating something. In community style, usually people are coming in for pain or, more symptom-based things, but even if they aren't, you have access to some of the points, but you may not be able to do an entire protocol to help remove a particular block that is going on that's like a more global block. You may not be able to, get to a point that would really, really be ideal, but you can get ones that are good enough. So there are some limitations with that style, but it's usually less expensive, and it's usually something that people access more frequently. So if you need to get more treatment in a shorter period of time, it's a great way to do that in a cost-effective manner. Any questions prior to this point? Because I can delve into what people come to acupuncture for and how often to go and things like that. I want to check in first. You look thoughtful, Stephanie.
I wrote down a few things, but you might. Yeah, I'll wait a little bit because you might actually answer them.
Okay, great. Again, if anybody needs to step in, just let me know. So as I've mentioned, people come to acupuncture for all sorts of reasons. So it really can help with pain. That's one of the top reasons that people do come for acupuncture, and it's been shown clinically to help with various types of pain. It can also help with anxiety and depression, some other mental conditions, and behavioral disorders. I'm trying to think like what else. I mean, there's really almost nothing that acupuncture can't help with. The only things that I say are, if you're an adult and you had some sort of congenital condition, chances are acupuncture might not help with that. There have been stories of people who've had children that have been born with various defects that they've had get acupuncture very early on, and it actually has made somewhat of a difference, even in something like, where there's been like various mental issues or brain damage or what have you. So it can possibly help in that case. But if somebody's all the way to, 20 and they have Down syndrome, and, it's probably not going to change too much there, for example. But even if somebody breaks their bone, no, acupuncture is not going to magically like make your bone go back together in one treatment. But there are points that we use to help the bones heal faster. So really when people call me up on the phone and they say, hey, I've got this, can acupuncture help with it? My answer is pretty much always, yes, acupuncture can help with that. Now it's a matter of how many times somebody has to come to see some sort of shift. And, most of the time I tell people you should come 4 to 6 times, usually once a week, or you can come twice a week if you have the means to do that, and you'll see results a little bit faster. And if we see absolutely nothing shift, not like I feel more calm or less stressed or whatever, or I have noticed that my symptoms are a little bit better, you see absolutely nothing in 4 to 6 treatments, it's probably not the modality for you. Unless you've had some sort of really, really chronic condition and you're really, really depleted. I mean, but even then, most people really see some sort of shift, even if it's just, I feel less stressed. That's one of the ones that I see shift the fastest. Or, I'm sleeping a little bit better. Mm-hmm. If somebody has a chronic condition, it's usually going to take at least 12 treatments before we see a real effect on what they're coming for. Whereas if something's more acute, they may see a shift in that 4 to 6 weeks, or at least by 8 weeks. And then as people feel better, the idea is that we see them less often. So we start spacing out the treatments to once every couple weeks for a while, and then once every 3 weeks, and then once every 4 weeks, and so forth, until they're only coming in as frequently as they want to. Now, that being said, there are people like myself who have been going to acupuncture for, 12 and a half years now or something. And I still go pretty frequently, usually once every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the time of the year. Right now I'm going weekly because I kind of ran myself down a little bit too much. I have too much stuff going on, and I have a pretty toxic work environment, unfortunately, not not my practice, but the other stuff that I do. And that's starting to physically affect me just because the environment that I'm sitting in for, 7 or 8 hours a day is pretty bad. And so, there's a period of time where I go more frequently because something's come up. And then I go, again, every 2 or 3 weeks in the interim. And I have patients like that too. But then there's other people who only come once a season. And so they come, once every 2 or 3 months. And that's totally normal too.
And what do those people come for if they're coming like once every 2 or 3 months?
Yeah, so once they've got to the point where whatever their initial issue was is resolved, then they are coming in kind of for maintenance at that point if it's once every 2 or 3 months. So they're generally feeling pretty good. It's just to make sure that they're not wearing themselves out to the point where their symptoms come back or something like that. And some people do actually just say, you know what, like, I'm good, I feel great, and they stop coming. And, they may come back years later for another symptom or a return of the same symptom. It's great if they actually are able to, work on their own things and put things in place to help maintain their health. But most Americans, at least, are not like that. And so most of us will eventually run ourselves down in some way and need to come back. And sometimes other people, they have good experiences with acupuncture, but they decide after they take a little bit of a break that they want to try something else for their health. And so they might try, clinical hypnotherapy or chiropractic or going to an ND or something like that. So I'm a firm believer that everybody has a kind of set of therapies that are ideal for them. And then it's about each of us discovering what that is to best support our health. So for me, acupuncture is absolutely, a no-brainer. Like, I need it, and I just do so much, and I balance a lot, and it really helps me stay in check and be able to keep doing what I'm here doing and really manifest my destiny, which is the highest order of acupuncture. So, ultimately, we are all called to help people manifest their destiny. It's the pain, it's the other stuff that gets in the way. As acupuncturists, we help people get rid of that stuff and sort through the other stuff to make sure that they can get out of their own way and do what they're here to do, and walk their Tao, as they say in that medicine. And now I'm like blanking on what I was saying.
So this is Chinese medicine based acupuncture.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So where did the 5-element approach originate out of? Just a different form of it?
Yeah, so it's all Chinese in theory. So it's just people came from France or England and they went to China. They studied with ancient masters and then brought it back to the Western world. So the 5-element theory is based on, and you may have seen this before, and I might have it somewhere on my computer here, but I probably have to dig for it. But there are 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. It's kind of similar to the other ones that people, like the water, fire, air kind of thing. But the 5 elements all work in harmony with one another, and they are in the world and in us as a result. And the thinking is that each element has a season associated with it. It has a taste associated with it, an odor, an emotion, a sound. All of those things are associated with one of those 5 elements. And our interactions with patients tell us a little bit about where people tend to lie in one of those 5 elements. So each person has a dominant element that they really thrive in, and others have, and everybody kind of has a secondary one and maybe a third one or whatever. It's not really tertiary, right? That's fourth. So
that's the word.
Yeah, everybody has all. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure that was. So everybody has all 5 elements within them, but there's one that they kind of like to hang out with. So I'll give you an example because this sounds super abstract right now, right?
No, like I'm pretty sure I'm fire, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So fire element is the summertime. So it's really the time of the year right now even though our weather's been a little like, I mean, now it's nice and warm out, but on the East Coast here, but it's been a little crazy. And the summertime goes through peaking at the solstice, actually, and then going down in July. I think it's sometime in July starts the late summer, which is the Earth. So really this time between like May, maybe even like late April through the beginning of July is the summertime. And so that's the fire time of the year. The emotion is joy, right? So people like being associated with joy, right? That's one of the fun ones. And it is about having fun, and it's about community, and it's about connection. It's on the yin side of things, it's the deep, intimate, one-on-one type connection. And on the yang side of things, it's the parties, it's the fun, and the big types of connections, and the kind of outgoing people versus the introverts. And let's see, the smell is a scorched smell. So people who really thrive in the fire will smell slightly scorched, almost like ironed linens. That's one of the things that they tell us. And it's true. Some people smell like that. And
okay, I'm laughing now.
I know. We have to smell people. We look at tongues. I mean, there's some funny things that we do. And let me see, we've got the sound is laugh. So people can have a kind of laugh to their voice, or they can have a lack of laugh, actually. So, somebody who sounds a little sad or depressed, or that they're lacking like a lilt to their voice. And let me see, what am I forgetting? Sound, odor, emotion, color, right? So color is red. So people who have a little bit more red. So I'm actually a mix of a fire and a water person. So it's probably hard to tell. Like I naturally have a little bit of red in my face, but I also have like, I've covered it with some nice concealer, but I also have like a decent amount of blue, which is the color of water, or, blues or blacks when you see those on people, or this kind of groan that I have to my voice. That's more of a water energy. So the fact that I'm kind of like like that's like a fire kind of noise, and the groan that I have to my voice, which is like only slightly accentuated, even given how late it is. Sometimes I get worse. That's more of a water thing. So you listen to people, the way that they speak, the way, like somebody who uses their hands a lot like this is also usually pretty fiery. So it's their mannerisms, it's the way that they look, like the coloring, the again, like the way they smell, and again the way that they act, right? So for example, I know
Kristen's over there smelling herself.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question, because this part is actually super fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So how do you figure out like what you are? Like how do you know what element you're dominant in? Is there like a quiz, or can you just tell by talking to someone?
Yeah, so we actually can tell by talking to people, and then again, ideally you're in the same room as somebody.
Because I want to know what I am. I'm like, am I earth, metal, wood, water, fire? Like I want to take a test or something.
Yeah.
Like the Ayurveda stuff where they have like the different what are they called?
You sound like 100 million miles away.
Do I?
Yeah.
It sounds like a little like you're on the phone or something like.
Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. Like it's actually like Houston, we have a problem. You're like internet.
Let me
disconnect here.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
What was I gonna say? Oh, like the Ayurveda stuff where they have the different,
right, the doshas.
It's kind of like on that same principle.
Yeah, it's similar. And so like a fiery person would be more of like a pitta when it comes to the Ayurveda, for example. But Ayurveda has 3 doshas, and we have 5, so it's a little bit different. Yes, you can talk
to find out what I was too, because that's kind of interesting.
I know. I'm like dying to know like what I am, and
So I have to ask then, do you have like what kind of? So if someone wants to, this is like the Chinese medicine kind of, right? based in Chinese medicine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If people want to know about Chinese medicine more, yeah, like where do you look? Is there like online stuff? Like if you were like, oh, I want to find out what I am, what kind of resources do people,
Yeah,
or do you
now
have
you're
to like,
making me feel like I need to put this thing together or something. Maybe I
you have
should.
to make
Yeah,
like
I'm like super into this right now. So
Yeah, there's not really a way to virtually smell somebody. There's that problem. But yeah, I mean, if you talk to somebody, I know you would think it's like your arm or something, but it's actually like the back of the neck that we smell for some, the top of the head for the fiery people, because it tends to just kind of like be like, coming off the head,
what?
like the lower back for the water. It is pretty fascinating. But I think that, the best way obviously is to talk to an acupuncturist. But usually I have to talk to people multiple times before I really feel like solid and being like, yes, you're a fire person. And that's because the way that you show up when you first see me and you haven't had any acupuncture can actually shift after treatment. So when you become more balanced, your natural kind of tendencies will come out and be more, present. And so right now I could be like, oh, she might have these kind of tendencies or that kinds of tendencies. And you may still have those, but then like your color might change, your odor might change. Like there might be something that says, okay, well, that I thought that might be her primary, and now it's more like the secondary, and something else is kind of coming up as a primary. So, so yeah.
So why is that important to know in acupuncture? Like, why would you want to know what dominant element someone is?
It's because in 5-element theory, we actually treat people based on where they really thrive. So if you are a fire person, then we would integrate, and I'm saying fire person, but we actually call it like a causative factor, and there's all that, but let's simplify it and call it fire person. So if you're somebody who primarily lives in fire, we would use points on fire meridian. So in the fire case, it's the heart meridian, the pericardium meridian, which is kind of the sac surrounding the heart as far as the physiological. There's what's called a triple heater, or sometimes called triple energizer, and that is dealing with the waterways in the body. It's a little bit more abstract of a concept, but it's associated with the fire. And the small intestine is the other element that is associated with the fire. And each of those are paired up as sisters to one another. So the heart and the small intestine are sisters with each other, and the triple energizer and the pericardium are sisters with each other. And the heart is the yin, the small intestine is the yang, the pericardium is the yin, the triple energizer is the yang. And so we look at those four in the fire, which fire is a little different. Every other one only has 2, but fire has 4. And so we would look at those 4 and say, okay, here are the kind of qualities associated with somebody who's more of a heart person. Here's more of a small intestine person, more of a triple energizer and a pericardium person. So somebody who has is much more comfortable having those intimate, like one-on-one kind of fireside chats, if you will, versus being like the life of the party. Let's say that you really like those kind of intimate things. You don't feel comfortable having like massive parties. You really get overwhelmed with a lot of, noise and people around you. Then we're going to say, okay, you're probably not a triple energizer person. That person really likes parties and kind of being connected with people. And then let's say that you really have trouble filtering your words and choosing what to say. And when you're out of balance, you really just like say things you shouldn't say and make inappropriate jokes and stuff like that. Well, again, while all of us in the fire tend to do that a little bit, we're going to say, okay, well, now I'm thinking like your small intestine's a little kind of messed up, because the small intestine's about sorting the pure from the impures. If we like say some things, or we can't sort it out correctly. So like for me, if I'm like a little off, then I can't pick my words very well. Like right now, it's not amazing, but it's not as bad as it can get. I will be like, I can't think of words. I can't talk right. Like I will get really messed up when I'm off balance. But, you know, like there'll be the inappropriate jokes and other things like that that are primary to somebody who is a small intestine person particularly. Whereas the heart people are kind of like, you know, the Jesus, the Buddha, the, not that, you know, all the heart people are like that, but it's that kind of openly giving from your heart, being somebody who is just, you know, there, and they're a leader, and but they have this kind of gentle presence. There are very few heart people out there, just as an FYI. Whereas pericardium people, for example, tend to not give very much eye contact, to be a little bit more guarded, to have been hurt in the past, because the pericardium kind of protects the heart. So if the gates to the pericardium kind of get off, like they're too open, I really thought I could trust this person, and bam, I got hit. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep myself closed off. And these gates are not going to come open, you know, very much, if at all. So that's like an imbalance in the pericardium, but something you see those people have somewhat often. Then I'm going to be saying, okay, maybe that person lives there more frequently. So that all being said, after we parse it down to which of these elements we think that the person's really thriving in, we take points on those meridians that are very particular to them and have very specific effects, and we use those points on that meridian to help really fill the energy back up for that person, to treat them in a specific way that helps them really thrive. So, you know, let's say that you are a pericardium person. You don't really strike me that way, but let's pretend you're a pericardium person, and you know, I'm going to treat you on the pericardium meridian. You're going to naturally get better faster if I do that. Now, let's say that you really are a pericardium person, and I treat you on the earth, because I'm like, well, I think you have some earth. I'm not really 100% sure. I'm going to treat you on that. So I treat you on the spleen meridian. That's one of the ones associated with the earth. You may get better because I'm still doing treatments and I'm still helping, you know, by putting any acupuncture points in you, but you probably won't get better as quickly as you would if I were treating you in the right place. There's something about that place that each of us thrives in that is just like, you know, you're tapping that very particular well that just goes and just fills you up in a way that the other meridians don't. So you really thrive when we hit on that. And so 5 element is the only one that really uses that theory of, you know, seeing where each person really thrives and treats on that meridian, whereas TCM doesn't do that at all. They really, again, focus on, okay, well, you know, what is the point to help you with your, you know, stomach pain? I'm going to do, you know, maybe there are points on the stomach and I'm going to do it that way. Maybe there's other points that work to help release fire because there's too much stomach fire for you or something. So there's an entire other system that we also learn in 5 element schools, just so we can talk to other acupuncturists and so that we can develop our own way of practicing, that there are different patterns. So every person who comes to me, even if every single person has arm pain or knee pain or osteoarthritis or whatever, or cancer, like somebody else was saying, you can have the same condition, but manifest it in different ways. So, you know, let's say that somebody has knee pain, you know, maybe your knee pain is constant. Maybe in somebody else, it comes and goes. Maybe there's stabbing pain with some people. There's a dull ache with others. Some people, it gets worse when they drink red wine. Some people, it doesn't. Some people are able to exercise, some people can't. So each person we look at individually to say, how is that person with that knee pain in this example, how are they showing up? What's going on for them? So I look at when they first come in, I go over their full entire social history, their medical history, everything. How, you know, what kinds of surgeries have you had? What's your home life like? You know, do you have any kids? Do you have social connections? Do you, you know, do you sleep well? How are your stools? How is your urine? Like, it's really, I go through the entire body system, and again, like also touching on the mental and the spiritual aspects to say, what kind of state is this person in right now? And what kinds of imbalances may there be because of these? And how can I treat those things and get some sort of shift? Because often we are, we are blocked up in ways that we really just, again, need to release something, and that will create a big shift for us. And other times we really have to target a very specific acupuncture point to make some sort of shift happen, or I have to work with somebody on a diet change to, or have them try meditation or something else. We really look at this in a holistic way and see, like, what are the different interventions that we can use to help you get better faster. And one of the other sorry, I'm kind of rambling here a little bit, but one of the other benefits to the particular style of acupuncture that I practice is that, people joke that it's almost like going to therapy because we are.
I was going to say that it really is a therapy session on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, we talk to our patients. Again, they come in for about an hour and a half the first time, and I'm talking to them, probably at least 45 minutes of that. And then I'm giving, like I'm doing particular palpation exams and I'm doing the treatments and so forth. But, we are going over the whole being that they are. And then each time they come in, we're talking to them for 15 or 20 minutes. Like, how are you doing? What's coming up for you? What came up after the last treatment? What's coming up in your life right now? What are you concerned about? Did you see any shifts? So we are talking to them and allowing space for all of the emotions to come through, to express themselves and see what it is that is at the heart of why they are, hurting in some kind of way. And I will say that most of the people for me are coming into me eventually. We get to the place where they're like, oh, I had lost all hope in life, and now I have hope again. That's one of my patients.
Wow.
They said, when they first came to me a few months ago, she came to me because she had hip and knee pain, but she had no idea. Like, they never do, and I always do, but they came in, she was, over 4 treatments or something like that. I mean, she was bawling on the table and just, I've been living my life just going through the motions. I had no idea, it's just they have these breakthroughs because the energy is flowing in a way that they're able to move those emotions to really let things come up and to move through them. Because a lot of times we don't want to feel things. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel, upset and these negative emotions or anger or what have you. Like, and we just push it down. When we push it down, we get sick. And, most of the issues that we find are because somebody has been pushing down emotions in some kind of way or not letting them express themselves. And then they physically manifest. So, somebody who has knee pain may well have knee pain because they're not walking forward in their life. Like, it is metaphorical with some people, and other times it's just because they're not using particular parts of their body or whatever, and it may be a weak point. Or, if they have digestive issues, like, how are they processing life? Are they actually taking time to digest life and really process things? Or are they just, going and not really taking time to be present to where they are right now? So you can see how, yes, there are points for all of that. And we also have to coach people through, what it takes to get them to move this, because I can only do so much. It's really, they are doing all the work. That needles are just, I'm facilitating it. So it's always on them to take their health very seriously and then say, okay, well, what is it that I need to do? Right now I'm personally in a place where, because there's always more layers to the onion, right? So each person, you can think of them as an onion. It's like, I feel like, why am I not at the middle at this point practically? But, hopefully that would be like when I'm dead, right? So, it just keeps peeling back. And the more that you think that you're through it all and you're there, it's like, oh, nope, you're just the beginning. Let's do some more. So I'm there constantly peeling the layers back, and I'm doing that for myself too. Like as a healer, it is my responsibility to do that for myself, so that I'm constantly giving my best. I'm constantly practicing what I preach, and and I'm taking my health seriously, because if I'm not in the best health and I'm not in the most connected place that I can be, then I'm not able to deliver the treatments that I need to for my patients. And so right now I go to acupuncture because, again, like, I've been in this kind of toxic work environment, and while I try to stay positive as best I can, if you're in this sea of muck all the time and people are complaining to me because they find me easy to talk to, which is like really sweet, and like really, there's only so much, like, if you're in my office all the time and you're complaining and like everybody's around me and they're just miserable, it gets in, no matter how strong you are. And so like for me, I'm like, okay, something's off. I gotta go. I've got to take this seriously. And I'm going and getting a very specific protocol that I need to help move through this. And then I'm taking it even further and saying, okay, well, I'm working on this other thing, but what can I do to get my health to the maximum, the optimum level? So, I went to the ND. Now I'm taking some B vitamins. That helps me with the stress. It helps my system a little bit so that I can heal faster. So to me, again, what I started saying, and then I kind of got off track, is that, each of us has this kind of series of people, these healers that we really can use. And for me, it's acupuncture, but it's also, doing yoga. It's also, doing karate. It's doing, it's being a part of my business incubator, like that there's a group of women that I can talk to. It's being part of groups like this, that you feel some sort of support. So, putting all those things in place for us to really improve our wellness, to be the best that we can be, it's crucial for our health. And, acupuncture, again, it's there as a help and a catalyst, even in some situations. But all of us have to take it upon ourselves to really take our health absolutely seriously. And that's how you're going to get the fastest results, period.
So if anyone, could you guys just type yes or no in the chat box if you've tried acupuncture before? I've not. I'm really intrigued to try it. But I was wondering if you could go through, like, quickly. Someone comes in, you said the first time they meet with you, you do an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes of that is like thorough health history talk. And then you get into like the acupuncture portion. Can you talk about like what someone would go through during the needle time?
Yeah. So again, in the particular style that I practice, usually we find that people come in with particular, like, there's kind of like these main blocks, right? So there are these patterns that, of points that we use to help get rid of big energetic blocks, not just like little tiny things. So it's like not just one little beaver dam, it's like a whole big, this whole thing's just gunked up, right? So getting rid of it with particular points. So, and yes, by the way, Breezy, dry needling is different than acupuncture. So it is a completely different experience. So usually they're laying on the table, and they may be partially closed, or they have draping over themselves. We don't ever have anybody just lay there naked or anything. So, they may have needles in their arms, or their chest, or their belly, or their head, or their legs, or their ankles, or their feet. We have points, again, all over the body. And usually they're going to get, in my style of acupuncture, they could get as few as like 2 needles, but it's usually somewhere in the like 5 to 10 range for the treatment. They stay in for 15 or 20 minutes usually. Certain treatments, they need to be in a little bit longer.
And how far in do they go?
They only go in about, so this is a 1-inch needle. I can kind of stick my finger on the top so you can see it because the needle's so tiny. And so however long they are, they usually go in about halfway. So like 1/2 inch is probably the most that they go in most of the time, unless you have like a hip, the hip is really big muscle, right? So that one might go in like an inch or something. But I mean, usually you're only getting hip points done if you have hip issues.
Like, can you go in too far? It's not going to like damage anything if you like go in
You
too.
could if you do it really irresponsibly, right? So people do get pneumothorax and so forth on very, very rare occasion because somebody has needled too far. Usually that's going to be somebody who's more frail or incredibly thin, and you're doing points up here, right? So that they're over top of the lungs and you're just going.
Oh, oh, is that what that means? Okay.
Yeah, so pneumothorax is when the lung collapses.
Lung, yeah.
You can also have organ puncture as, again, these are like incredibly rare side effects and generally not going to happen. But yeah, most of the time, like it just goes in a little bit, and you could go too far, but a good acupuncturist shouldn't do that. Yeah, like it's interesting as an acupuncturist, like the needles will just kind of stop naturally at the place where
I was going to ask if they just
energy.
Yeah.
It's so weird
on their own.
So weird, but it's really neat at the same time. And so they really do, you just place them in and they just stop at one point. And yes, in reality, of course you could just jam it in there, but that any practiced acupuncturist should really be connected to their own energy, and your own energy goes through that needle. Like, so if I'm holding my needle here, then, and I'm kind of trying to, again, this is like a terrible colored, oh wait, I have something white here. Maybe that's easier to see. You can see that? No.
I think you need something dark.
Yeah, I know. I don't think anything dark's going to help too much either. See? It's
That's
so
a little better.
anyway.
Okay.
So, anyway, if I'm needling and, what was I going to say? What were we talking about?
How far it goes in.
Yeah. I feel like I've lost whatever I was going to say. Oh, right. No, I got it.
Oh, energy. We're talking about the energy.
I don't remember. So if I'm holding a needle, then my energy is actually connected to that needle. The needle is an extension of me, such that I should be able to always feel the tip of this needle at any time, that I should be connected to it. And as one of the, it was actually kind of cool. One of the exercises they had us do when we were a student was to hold this needle for like 4 hours straight or all day long while you're doing other things. So, I'm brushing my hair, I'm still holding the needle, so that you're always conscious of the tip of this. And, you get used to holding it. It becomes part of you. So again, like the most seasoned practitioners or the best practitioners, they don't even have to be, old or, out for a long time. They really are always thinking of this needle as an extension of their own energy. And I'm using that tip of the needle, my energy, to connect with the energy of the person in that point, so that it gets to that place. I put the needle in and it naturally stops because that's where my energy is meeting their energy and where that needle needs to go. And then, once it's in, then I can do particular manipulations and perhaps get a particular effect that I'm looking for. But yeah, you are your needle, and the words are certainly a needle too. But as far as a physical needle goes, it's a part of you.
This is so fascinating. So you put the needles in, you wait like 15 minutes, and is the person just still during that time?
Yeah, usually. We have, I prefer to leave the room so that people have their own space to do whatever they need to do. People may want to cry. People may want to, just be quiet and have time. They might want to go to sleep. Any of it's fine for us. And really, again, if somebody does feel the need to cry, I want to give them the space to do that and feel like they're comfortable to do that, because I want that emotion to move. It needs to come up. And, most of the time, people are just relaxing. And, I have some, sound machines that we can put on, or some people bring their own music, or you can have lightly piped music throughout the room. And they're just having time where they don't feel like they have to talk to me and engage with me. I want them to kind of be in the space to let the needles kind of do their own work and move that energy through.
That's so fascinating. So do you take the needles out and put them in again at a different place, or is it just one like application?
So all the needles are single-use filiform and disposable, just as an FYI. So needles, if they come out, they're going into the sharps container, and then we use new needles in a different set if we want to. So usually there are anywhere from 1 to 3 sets of needles per treatment.
Okay.
So most of the time, the needles will go in and stay in for 15 or 20 minutes per set. Sometimes you can just put them in and take them out, and that depends on what you're doing, which is warranted. But yeah, I mean, that's why, like, most of the treatments are 45 minutes to an hour. So unless somebody's spending a whole lot of extra time with you, it's not going to be more than 3 sets of needles. And most of the time it's 2, but sometimes it's just 1. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel a needle enter your skin at all?
Depends on where it is.
Okay.
So
they look so little. I was like, I bet you can't even feel it.
They do. Like, a lot of people do not feel the points when I put them like on the stomach, for example, because anywhere that we have a decent amount of fat, it doesn't matter how fit you are, usually you're going to have some fat in the stomach area because naturally that's where humans keep it. So those points, often they won't feel it at all. However, there are points on the hand, for example, that are very painful going in. Bottom of the foot's another one that people really hate, the sides of the feet. So there are places where we have a lot of nerves and pretty much very little fat. And so those points will sting for a minute when they go in. So it's really just like a second or two, and then not even a full second probably, and then it goes away. And there's other times where people get needles inserted. They may not feel the actual insertion, and then they feel like kind of a buzzing or a tingling around the needle. And that's kind of like usually an energy sensation, so that they're feeling that the energy is kind of moving through.
Wow.
So
Darcy's saying she feels them most on feet and ears. I would absolutely put them on the bottoms of my feet. I don't know if I can handle that.
It sucks. Not gonna lie, I've had it done multiple times, and I have done that point on my patients on occasion, and I'm like, please don't hate me. It is a powerful point on the bottom of the foot. The sides of the feet I do a little bit more often, but because there are a lot of the main points on the water meridians, for example. So if you got a water person, then you're gonna treat them there, and they just, they joke that they hate me for that, but but they're fine with it. And again, it's just a second that it pinches. The ears, I agree with you there, Darcy. I hate getting those needled myself. And there are some amazing points on the ears. Like you're saying, it's worth it. They're great, especially if they're doing like the NADA protocol, which is one that they use for detoxing and for helping with addictions. So any kind of addiction, not just drugs or alcohol, but also cigarette smoking, addiction to sugar, like things that are legal. Like you can still get addicted to those things, and those points are often good for that. But there's all sorts of other points, weight loss points. I mean, all sorts of chocolate. Yeah. So I mean, and look, this is coming from a sugar addict that I am hopefully recovering sugar addict. I mean, our bodies are really made to be sugar addicts, but there's some amazing points on the ears, and oh man, they are more prone to bleeding too when we take them out. So they'll often have like a drop of blood and so forth. But again, they're great protocols. They may kind of feel a little warm, a little achy afterwards, especially if you haven't had a lot to drink. Most of the other points you don't have that. I'm just talking about the ears. So, but I mean, the vast majority of the points people don't feel, or it's very, very, very little. So people who have real bad fears of needles, I usually will ask them, I was like, do you want to see the needles or do you not want to see the needles? Because some of them, prefer to see it. That makes them feel better. And other ones are like, do not show me the needle. I'm like, okay, close your eyes. And then oftentimes they don't even know it's in.
Mm-hmm. So earlier on, you had mentioned a detox. Mm-hmm. Can you talk just for a few minutes? Do you have everyone do a food-based detox before or after? Do you find it's more impactful?
Yeah. So my program, I assume you're talking about my program, the Chinese Medicine Cleanse. Is that?
Yeah. Is this something you developed?
Yeah, so I actually put it together in 2011, and I've been running it since then. It started out as a small thing, just kind of guinea pigs of my friends and family and patients and myself. And I found that we all got really amazing results. And I fleshed it out and started offering it to more of the general public. And now it's available on Teachable, like my Teachable site. So
Oh, nice.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's a 21-day program, and it has daily emails, if you will, or like daily modules that have an inspirational quote. They've got a recipe that's based in this theory of Chinese nutrition, and it's got yoga pose every day, like a little video. Trying to think what else. And then I have manuals. So I have weekly manuals. There's 3 weekly manuals. There's over 100 pages of content. And basically the idea that I had for creating it was that I wanted to be able to take the concepts of Chinese medicine and make them something that is easily accessible for the American couch potato kind of person, all the way through somebody who is a little bit more fit. But it's taking the ideas of limiting things like gluten and dairy, sugar, things that are, more what we call dampening to the body. So in Chinese medicine, there's this idea of dampness being a condition of the body that leads to obesity. It leads to foggy thoughts. It leads to just sluggishness and, being tired all the time and things like that. And that's one of the things that Americans suffer with the most. And it leads, like, it's one of the symptoms of what we call spleen qi deficiency. So again, people just not taking care of themselves, doing too much, not exercising, not eating well, eating all this kind of sugary, fatty food, that leads them to get this condition. The other most popular condition in America is called liver qi stagnation. And that is something that happens when there's a bunch of different reasons. Again, people aren't exercising enough. People aren't expressing their emotions well, particularly anger. They're just, again, like kind of doing too much, burning out. Like it's really a shame, but it is one of the most popular things for people to get. And probably kidney qi deficiency is third in there, or in the top 3. I don't know which. All of these are so prevalent, which one's number 1, but kidney qi deficiency is really kind of the symptom of somebody burning the candle on both ends. They're feeling tired, exhausted all the time. They may have low libido. They may.
I'm always burning the candle at both ends, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, endemic within our society. And so what I did was take those main patterns of disharmony, as we call them, in Chinese medicine, and said, okay, if these are the ones that people suffer with the most, what kind of diet can I put together to help them feel better and maybe lose weight if they need to, or have better digestion? Or I've had people who had a baby and they think that the cleanse really did. I mean, this is all FDA or not FDA, CFC or no, CDC. No. What's the one that's like the communications people? FCC. Oh my God, there's so many of these stupid acronyms.
So many initials.
Yeah, whatever the communication people are out there that say this is the problem of it being 9:30 at night.
That was hilarious.
Anyway, so, you can't say things like, oh, somebody lost 12 pounds. But yeah, I mean, people, like guys especially, will lose a whole lot of weight on this. The average weight loss was something like 6 pounds, I believe, in the 3 weeks. Yeah, people, right. I mean, I had a woman who had Crohn's, and she felt like the first time in her life it was manageable after doing this diet for 3 weeks.
Amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I had my best friend, actually one of my first guinea pigs, to call her that. She lost, I think, 2 pant sizes. She had the first normal period in her entire life. She had the crazy heavy, needed a hall pass when she was a kid kind of periods. And I mean, we're getting ready to turn 40. Well, she just turned 40. I'm turning 40 in a week and a half here. And, she had, this was again 7 years ago, but so at 33 or whatever we were then, having the first normal period in her life as somebody
Amazing.
who's had periods for over 20 years at that point. And it just goes to show how much diet and a little bit of lifestyle changes can make a massive difference.
Yes.
Okay, some people they're going to have a little bit of a hard time with the fact that I, for example, asked them to not do any coffee during that period of time, just because the oils have been found to gunk up the energy in Chinese medicine and the thinking. It's not about the caffeine. I mean, go ahead. I mean, don't go crazy, but you can have green tea or something like that. But the coffee itself, the oils have kind of a stickiness to them that gunks up the energy.
So if people go to Teachable and search your name or Chinese medicine cleanse, they'll find it?
I think so.
I'm
really
just super fascinated. I might go do this course myself because I'm fascinated about the Chinese medicine aspect of it.
Yeah,
I can run Whole Foods cleanses all day long.
Yeah.
But to layer on do you bring in Chinese herbs at all?
I don't. And actually, in the state of Maryland where I practice, we don't have to have herbal training. It's one of the only ones in the entire country that's like that, because the founders of the school where I treated based their school here in Maryland, and they were the first ones to bring it kind of here and get it accredited, and kind of have been here long enough that they got the state on their side, and they got afforded us a lot of rights that other states don't have. And so no, I don't do the herbs. I don't personally love them. I'm just gonna say, I mean, sorry, but I think they taste like dirt, and I really they taste like dirt at best, maybe some of them.
I'm drinking my mug of herbs while we're talking.
I mean, hey, go for it if you like it. I don't like them, and I've also found for me, it just they didn't really do anything, and they're amazing for certain people. It's just Reiki. I'm a Reiki master, and I know that I'm an effective practitioner. People leave my treatment room and they feel amazingly different, and they rave about me. But I personally have gotten nothing out of Reiki myself. And
interesting, really.
It's so weird. And that's why I'm saying, I feel like each person has this little, series of things. And for me, Reiki's not one of them, and herbs aren't one of them either. Now, when it comes to Western herbs, that might be different, but Chinese herbs don't resonate in my body for some reason. And so I feel like I would be a hypocrite if I, went ahead and did all the training. I mean, I can even get the training for free at my school because I've been working there for so long, and teaching and everything. But, I don't, because I feel like, again, it's not resonant in my body and with what I would like to do. So I don't have that in there. I don't put any supplements in my program. I do have some smoothies and things like that they can add in the third week. But mainly it focuses on particular foods and having lightly cooked foods, whole foods, obviously, but really I'm assuming that somebody's starting as, eating, not necessarily eating McDonald's every day, but it could be something more severe like that. If you're already healthy, you may be doing a lot of the things that, if you're already not eating gluten or dairy or, much sugar or, things like that, you may not really see as much of a shift from that aspect. But again, you would see the Chinese medicine perspective behind that, and you would also probably see which foods could be maybe added to your diet a little bit more, stressed a little bit, depending on, how you're feeling. And the manuals are really where I talk about a lot of that, theory content. And hopefully one day I can put them into video form and, do that. But for right now, they're still in the written form. And I use scientific research to back up what I'm doing. Again, it's the scientist in me. And really this program uses all of my skills. So my former neuroscientist skills, my Chinese medicine, my yoga, by teaching that. I throw in some feng shui tips, even, I'm a feng shui consultant.
Oh my gosh. What do you not do?
I know, it's ridiculous. That's the water element in me. So way too much. And we're really about learning and knowledge. And so, I can't help it, but But yeah, it's a great way to have woven all of the things that I've had in my past and present into a lovely program that has helped a lot of people over the last 6 years since I started, 7 years since I started it. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'd love for people to check it out. You can get to it also from my website, which is jenyocum.com. So I guess
We'll definitely share your website across our groups.
here too, so it's a link.
Perfect.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, there is a button that says cleanse, and that should take you to the Teachable site. Or I think you can search on Teachable. I haven't done that.
Yeah. I'm going to look into it because like I said, I know enough about the food, but I don't know the Chinese medicine perspective behind it. I think I could learn a lot from it.
I do have another course, it's called Fuel Your Spirit. So it's really about the spiritual aspect of food and eating. And so it's kind of like there's another course there to kind of delve a little deeper for people after they feel it. I mean, not that you have to do the other one as a prerequisite, but for people who feel like maybe they have like some trauma issues or some other emotional issues that are really contributing to why they're having some kind of disordered eating, whether that's eating too much.
Oh, I just signed on a client. Okay. So that would be helpful for someone who has an eating disorder?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm
so,
taking notes here. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that also from the Chinese perspective, Chinese medicine perspective, or is it?
It has a little bit of everything in it. So I talk more about, I'm trying to think, it's got tapping in it, which tapping uses acupuncture points.
Yeah.
And it's got, what else is in there?
How much is that course on Teachable, the Fuel Your Spirit course?
I believe that one is $97.
Is that how long? I know you said the other one was.
I believe it's a 7-day program. Yes. Let me see. Let me double check I think it's courses.jenyocum.com.
Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions.
Oh, no, that's okay.
If anyone else has questions, you should totally, ask them, or else I'll just keep asking questions.
Yeah. And I guess I'm fine to keep going. I guess we're also over an hour here, so it's up to you. Well, my internet doesn't seem to want to tell me whatever, but I think it's courses.jenyocum.com, assuming that's working right. And I don't know, maybe there's an issue with that site. If it's not working right, then let me know, and I will get on that. But every now and then, my website seems to have technical issues. It'd be nice if it didn't, but.
So Jen, I have a question for you. What are your opinion of you see some of these kind of like, obviously it's different, but can people still see some benefits from like doing like kind of the acupressure points on certain areas? Or I've seen like they're kind of like, they're like a mat or something that has like,
oh yeah,
like stand on, or and they like push on different spots, or are those types of things like a legitimate thing, or are they kind of a hoax?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for acupressure, yes, it can be useful, especially with kids or people who like feel like they're a little too stimulated by the needles or they're too scared of needles. We will do acupressure with them. And so, one of the things that I've written down here, it was like, oh, I could tell them like a really quick and easy thing for like headaches, for example. So if you find this spot kind of here where the thumb and the first finger meet, and you kind of come off of that a little bit, that kind of becomes a softer place, right? So where off the bone. So yeah, so you can take your thumb in that area or your finger, either one, and kind of like dig in there if you feel like you have a headache coming on, for example. So that's one that's really useful for that.
I just hurt myself.
Yeah. That's painful.
I'm really sensitive there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and if you have a headache, you can really, dig in there and you may be able to affect some change. Wow. It can be useful. Of course, the needles are going to have a result probably a little bit faster, but yeah, I would say acupressure. Yes, absolutely. Totally legit. the acupressure massage tables and things like that, it, it could be useful. I think it's more like just getting a massage or an overall, like it's rolling across your entire body or it's on your entire foot. And, yeah, it's bound to hit some acupuncture points, but it's hitting all sorts of things too. So my mom actually bought an acupressure type table, like this massage table, and it was like this thing she got in, I don't know if the 80s or 90s or something. And, it was awesome in that it was like this rolling like thing. Like
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's probably the equivalent nowadays of like the foam roller or something, but like it's automated. It will go all the way down the back from the head, all the way down the feet. And like you use these, and it had like a heating thing. And like, again, it had little pressure points and you had like these weights that you put on your, like your ankles and things to kind of help you get more pressure and stuff. And I loved it, but more from the sense of like working out the knots in my back.
Yeah.
Not so much from like getting any kind of particular, acupressure benefit from it. So I think really like if somebody's using the acupressure that is specific and they're trying to get some kind of result, sure. But the tables and stuff, like if it makes you feel good, sure. Reflexology is a little bit different of an idea too, but that can be useful.
Have you ever seen those? I've seen this on social media, and I don't even know if it's like a related practice, but it's like seeds. Have you ever seen?
Yeah.
Like a similar concept to the acupressure points, or?
Yes, the seeds that we do use those, and they're actually little black radish seeds usually. Although you can see different pellets, like sometimes little gold pellets or silver pellets as well. Mm-hmm. And they usually have like a little Band-Aid type sticker on them. And often it is in the ear that you'll see that. And so they're placed on certain points where we want the patients to then go and like press down on that point when they feel like they're having a craving coming on, for example. So that's often what we use it for. So somebody who's really having a lot of cravings, or somebody who is really depleted. Cancer patients are one of those populations where sometimes we'll use seeds a little bit more if we don't want to stimulate the body too much. And we give them the seeds in the different places, and then again, they can press on those if they feel nauseous, or like, again, pregnancy, those little, you may have seen those before, the bracelets that have the pressure point here, which is one of the pericardium points.
I wear those when I fly.
I had those when I was pregnant, and they did not help.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I didn't get real sick when I was pregnant, so I didn't have to worry about it. But, that's, again, acupressure versus acupuncture, probably going to be different. Like if you're really having severe nausea with pregnancy or something else, you could just go to the acupuncturist and get that treatment and see if that helps. You probably get a little bit more lasting effects. But
not everybody's more kids, so
yeah, well, exactly.
Sailed.
Yes.
Years ago.
Exactly. And so, I feel like, acupressure is a patch, for a lot of people. But, for others, again, it could be something that is useful for them.
Interesting. I know.
Yeah. Acupuncture would be helpful for Morton's neuroma or plantar fasciitis. I don't know what Morton's neuroma is offhand. Plantar fasciitis, yes. So
Morton's neuroma, I believe, is a like nerve damage
in
the foot.
Okay, gotcha.
But you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So plantar fasciitis, yes, it can be helpful. There are points in the areas of the feet and the ankles that we can use for that, and some other points again related as well. When it comes to anything that's neuropathy, for example, I don't know if that's the same thing as this Morton's neuroma or not, but any type of neuropathy, we have to be a little bit careful. It can kind of regenerate the nerves and help that situation, but we also don't want to make sure that we're doing anything that's going to hurt somebody. So some of our treatments are thermal in nature. So, we have like a warm what is that? Incense stick that we wave over acupuncture points to do a certain type of testing. So if somebody has neuropathy in their feet, we're just going to want to make sure that we test higher up on the foot, for example. We may or may not want to needle into certain types of things. Like, so for example, we don't want to needle any type of edema or I don't remember how you say that, edematous, limbs with edema in them, for example, that, somebody's had breast cancer and they've had the lymph nodes removed, and so they have edema in their arms. We don't want to needle anything in there. There's other types of precautions that we have as well. Let's see, thickening of tissue around the nerves leading to the toe. Okay, well, I haven't ever heard of it, as you obviously figured out at this point. It's possible.
So it's not necessarily nerve damage, then it's just it's pushing on the nerve, more or less, it sounds like.
Thickening of the tissue around the nerve. It's an interesting idea there, a condition. I don't know enough about it. And again, my kind of default is may as well try it and see if it helps. But, is it going to reverse the tissue back to a normal type level? Maybe not. It's just, again, hard to say with a condition like that. I'm not aware of any research or any personal things that I've had where acupuncture actually brings like a physical something like that, like a tissue thickness back to like a normal level, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. It may be that it is more about kind of if there's any pain involved with that particular condition, like lessening the pain, or if it's about increasing the nerve capacity or what have you, like those kinds of things are probably where acupuncture is a little bit more useful. So that's why I say, like, I can't say no, it wouldn't help, but I also can't say like, yeah, it totally would, because I don't know. Any other questions?
I know Breezy had mentioned oncology. I don't know if she had any additional questions in terms of that, or.
Yeah. I don't know if is she still here?
Looks like it. We can give her a second and see.
Okay.
And she's typing.
Yeah,
so this is not a particular question on anything, but how long does one person or a person have to go to school to become a doctor of acupuncture?
Yeah, so to become a doctor, that's usually going to be about 4 years in school. To just get a master's degree, which is what you need to practice in any of the states in the country. The doctorate is not, required for any of these states right now. It's going to take just a little bit over, like you could do it in 3 years if you really get through it. I did it in like 3 years and a month or something like that, and I was maybe the 5th person to graduate in my class. And so, you can do it in about 3. Most people did it in somewhere between 3.5 to 4. At that point, it's really about how fast you can get through the clinical experience, because you have to have, 125 treatments and 125 partnerings where you're kind of the secondary person observing the treatments in the room for somebody else. And so once you meet those requirements and you've done all your coursework, which ends by the end of the 3rd year, then you can graduate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I just want to thank you so much, because you're a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. And I've appreciated you guys bringing me on, and I'm sorry if I jumped all over the place.
No, you didn't. I just wish I could come see you. I wish you were in Pittsburgh, or I need to go to, I did want to ask, how much do sessions typically cost?
Yeah, so it certainly depends on where you live, and it depends on whether or not your acupuncturist takes insurance. So if your insurance plan includes acupuncture, which in the state of Maryland, we're one of the few that it's an essential benefit. So the vast majority of plans will cover it in some capacity for people who are in network providers like myself. And so that could cost you nothing, or
Wow.
$20 copay, or very little. However, if you don't have insurance coverage, or your acupuncturist does not work with insurance, it can cost you anywhere from, I don't know, probably the lowest numbers you might see for an intake are going to be somewhere maybe a $75, but it's probably going to be in the $95 to $150 range is most typical. You'll see everything above and below that. And the follow-ups, which again, 45 minutes to an hour in length, are usually, let's say, like in my area where I am, most people are in the $75 to $110 range. Most of them being in the $80 to $90 range. But you will see less. So for example, the student clinic at the school where I work, it's $55 because you're there with the student, and they are being supervised by a licensed professional, but you have somebody in the room that's observing and some other things, so they kind of discount that. Community acupuncture is going to run less usually, so it's going to be often in the $15 to $40 range per treatment, but again, you're in that group setting, and you're getting a limited number of points. And there are also acupuncturists like myself who work with people who have financial needs. So if they have, if you're at 200% or less of the federal poverty guidelines, then, so I have a couple patients that I see who are on disability, or they have, no job or what have you, then that's a way that somebody could get in, or some patients or some practitioners also work with a sliding scale.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Darcy's saying she strongly recommends everyone try it.
Yeah,
Darcy, how long have you been going?
Me? I have been going for like 12 years or so.
Okay.
And then, the longest patient I have right now has been with me for over 7 years. And, and she's somebody who comes every 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, depending on what she's doing. And, and then there's others that it's just amazing. They'll come for a short period of time, they'll feel better, and they'll go and so forth. So
yeah, this was fantastic. So we will share your website. We'll encourage people to check out your courses.
Yeah.
Okay, Darcy's been doing it for about 9 years. Okay, wow. And then if there's anything else you want us to share, let us know so we can share it with everybody. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they have questions for you?
Yeah, so on my website, I think there's a contact form, but you guys can also email me. I can give let me give my HIPAA compliant one in case somebody has, particular conditions they want to talk to me about, or about their clients or what have you. So that is my HIPAA compliant email address, and you're welcome to reach out to me there. You can also find me on, Facebook and Instagram and places like that too. Usually it's at Jen Yocum, or
Cool.
I don't remember what my Facebook handle is right now off the top of my head. But if you type up Jennifer Yocum acupuncture or something, I'm sure you'll find it. So
cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank
you. For
you.
sharing all this with us. I had no idea we were going to get into the Chinese medicine when talking about acupuncture. So I'm like, I want to learn more. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. And, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And if you know anybody or you're in the area, please feel free to send them along.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Jen, you're in the Baltimore, DC area.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
No problem.